But it does look like both of these runners are ready to go. So any moment now, we're going to have game number 1 between Skunky and Drumboardist. This should be a great matchup. And out.
No, the spreader will help you kind of get back to center nice enough. Actually, invulnerability, depending on how you use it. As you can see, Skunky's kind of running it into the door pathways there. Very nice to just be able to take an angle, and then you can fire at the other doors. And now, Orb, Razors, Skunky is all set up now.
Yeah, using the invulnerability to get the orb when it was near a mine, then getting a razor shield to close out the room. A solid time, a 1:27. Unfortunately, Drumboardist getting shrapneled at the end is going to cost him a few seconds to 1:33, about 6 seconds. But more importantly, but he loses the orb to Skunky.
Oh boy, that's a couple things right there. Drumboardist side has 2 shrapnels there, ends up taking out the one that was about to blow up, so then unfortunately takes that time loss. Then Skunky takes out the swirl, but has a lingering one of the balls right there that is able to get over and take out the orb from him. So yeah, tough one right there for both of our runners, but replacement orb for Skunky is back in control of the room.
Indeed he did, and this is where Drumboardist is going to bleed some time because he's not getting any weapons to help him out. Yeah, he's going to use the nuke. Yeah, it's going to be a time penalty, but that's a great idea when you have 4 shrapnels in the room like that. And finally an orb for Drumboardist, and that purple shirt was ready to take it away from him.
Trying to be a hero right there, trying to get a raise. Unfortunately for them, Drumboardist able to just squeak out of there. Keeps the orb and is able to get into total carnage. Not too far behind Skunky right here. Skunky able to maintain the center right here, but a razor on Drumboardist side is going to be able to hold that center a little bit more effectively.
That's a fantastic drop, and now Vitamin R, which is going to help cut the lead on Skunky, who gets a key. So the Drumboardist drops are favoring the Skunky drops right now. A spreader not too bad there for Skunky. So yeah, Drumboardist getting some great drops early on. We'll see if it keeps up, but here's some rockets now for Skunky. Drumboardist with somehow got past the dissolving razor shield, and Drumboardist loses the orb. You hate to see it. So Skunky, I would imagine, is gonna, but here's a replacement. Wow, game being generous here for Drumboardist. As Skunky 3:14 exiting, going into the secret rooms, and Drumboardist no, you can't be doing that, Drumboardist, not like this.
No, yeah, got the replacement orb, had the rockets, but the angles of firing weren't quite there. And then all of a sudden, trying to get back to center right at the end of the room, just has the orb clipped by a foot soldier. That's unfortunate. But really quick, we got a Taco Bell. Probably plays at Taco Bell.
Yeah, you're right about that. You know, we kind of got focused on Drumboardist losing the orb at the very end. That indeed was product placement time there. So we've got one on the board for this particular match. Spreader and Skunky does take down both the gunners on the wall, and Drumboardist did, dude, that's definitely what you don't want to see. You want to see some weapons here when you don't have an orb. Does take the death, but he will be able to get to those rockets.
Yeah, rockets will help clear out that other gunner. Skunky trying to keep that orb healthy, tries to get back to center, unfortunately does get clipped there. It's really messy when you're trying to come from a corner. You have to really have them not spawning from every angle. You need to kind of find the opportunity when they give you an opening, get back to center and start establishing again. It's tough to get in there otherwise. But does get the spreader or the spreader here, so it's gonna decently hold off the room. Spreader on Drumboardist side as well.
Yeah, Drumboardist got rockets. Skunky's not really gotten anything after losing that orb here. More rockets now for Drumboardist, following that up with a spreader. So Drumboardist may gain some time here. Remember, he was a 9-second deficit, and indeed, he's got the lead.
That is what a TT, and Drummy is gonna come back. He has 3 bars of spread. Let's see how he utilizes. Has to take out the swirl, of course, but will he leave the gunners up there? Will he go for a little of the early? Yeah, it looks like he's lining up for it, wants it. The invulnerability was there, though.
Oh, he did not recognize it. He had a chance there to use that invulnerability. Big missed opportunity, unfortunately.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been that much spreader, but it would have been nice. It would have been a clean, at least bar and a half or so of ammo for the spreader that you get early. Probably pops an arm maybe for you.
Oh, certainly. And Skunky back in the lead as he'll be the first to pop an arm, but Drumboardist not all that far back as his arm. We've got a neck-and-neck battle here. Less than a second. We're separating these two going into the Mutoid Man fight, but more lobbers. Spreader, but Skunky sees it too late. He'll have to go for the manual here. We'll see how he handles that. Lands a couple.
Yeah, not bad. Doesn't want to get too aggressive. Does end up taking the death there, but it was already You know, weapon cycles kind of around. Not too bad. Does get a lobber right there. Arms popped on both, but the chest popped on Skunky's side as well. So a little bit of advantage here by about a form or so.
Another death there for Skunky. Both of them are now on the same form. Skunky still has the lead as they both have rockets. Lobber way down there for Drumboardist. That's going to be a tough get. He does grab them. Head pops off for Skunky. Drumboardist.
Oh, unfortunately, and it's a blue item, but it's not the right blue item. Unfortunately, rockets there, not a spreader. If that was a spreader, that's potentially jumping the lead yet again right there. Head pop, though, for Skunky.
Yep, it's still a lead for Skunky. About a form lead now. Final form. And the spreader coming just too late for Skunky. Yeah, he took the death, but sorry, too late. The form has already taken place, so he's not going to get that 9 times damage. Drumboardist needs a spreader. He needs to see it right now. Too late for him, too. But it's anybody's game right now, as Skunky has no weapon, but neither does Drumboardist. And there it is.
Oh my God, he just needed one more shot, too. That's crazy.
Well, of course, but nevertheless, Skunky is going to take game number 1 as Drumboardist gets run over again, and he gets a spreader in the perfect spot. Oh my God, it's happening again, Tabs. Deja vu, just like match number 1. And there goes Mutoid Man. Close match, though, for game number 1. You like to see that.
That could have been like 40 seconds earlier in 2 forms before. That would have been a better time to drop that spreader. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Very close right there, both with that sub 730, 703, 722. I think it's going to be a scramble. It came down to Mutoid drops right there, and just a little bit better for Skunky.
Yeah, Drumboardist, bad luck there. Made up that time deficit that he had going into tank trouble, even when he lost that orb at the end, to take that fraction of a second lead. But yep, Skunky and Drumboardist will probably both tell you they're disappointed in their first run, because again, Skunky being a sub 6 runner on the board, when you pull a 703, you're probably not going to be pleased about it. But as Brycelf always says, survive and advance.
It's stressful because you know that the other runner is probably just right there. And you know it's just coming down to those last few drops, and you're just hoping that spreader doesn't work against you. For Skunky right there, it was fortunate enough, but it's like it just probably took one spreader there for Drummy, and unfortunately just saw it too late. Could have pulled back in the lead. They leapfrog each other back and forth, I think, twice. As far as who had the lead in that room. So very nice race.
Yeah, neck and neck, coming down to a couple drops there in Mutoid Man fight. And I expect to see Drumboardist to rebound here in game number 2. And I think Skunky is going to do better than that 703. I think we're going to see a couple of 6s here coming up in game number 2.
And both of our runners readied up. So we'll be right here for race number 2. I think, you know what? I'm going to call it right here. I think Drummy splits it. I think we go 1-1 right here. I think Drummy takes game number 2.
I think there's definitely a solid chance that can happen. Game number 2 coming up here. I think we've yet to see the full potential of either runner in this match. Obviously, it's only been one game, but I think we're going to see both of these times go down in game number 2. And for Drumboardist to win game number 2, yep, I just think he needs to kind of shake off the jitters. You know, his movement needs to be a little bit better. He was fine on the Mutoid Man fight, as was Skunky, but I think probably just the game 1 jitters for both of these players. I expect to see improvements here in game number 2, and we are underway. Unfortunately, we don't have a timer. Skunky did not start it, so we'll just have to rely on Drumboardist because we do have them in sync.
Yeah, unfortunately, I saw that as we already hit go there. It was, Skunky hadn't reset from the last run, so then it's the split. Unfortunately, it just goes to zeros. So yeah, we'll rely on Drummies. I think we'll be just fine there. Both synced up, both using that Razor to a pretty effective offensive level, and both getting out right at the same time.
Yeah, they are dead even, but it's going to be advantage Skunky because he's closer to the door, but not by much.
Not at all. Both going to be starting this room, and it's going to come down to who's going to take this early lead. What's this first drop going to hold for both of our runners here?
Oh, look at this. An opening orb for Skunky and
grenades. Oh, no.
Wow, man. I hate to say it, but you look at the rank numbers, and it's holding true again. RNG favoring the favorites early on here, and yeah, Drumboardist just getting no drops, and then a Razor Shield for Skunky is the rich, but there's an orb now for Drumboardist, and then loses it.
And he's shaking his head. He knows, yeah, he just ran in a little too early. Gets it on the feet, though. The replacement, can he dance around? Needs to get that guy up there. He does, and he gets a spreader, so should be able to finish off this room.
Well, I tell you, Drumboardist got lucky there that the game decided to be generous, but he's already about 12 seconds back going into Eat My Shrapnel. He cannot be happy about that start.
No, I mean, gets kind of bailed out, definitely, for that replacement. Needs to take care of this swirl. Does effectively get out of the corner, so very nice there. But yeah, starting to handle the beginning of Eat My Shrapnel. These foot soldiers getting in there a little bit, and you take care of them.
All right, Skunky has no trouble with the foot soldiers. It's now just a matter of taking down the rest of the 18 Mr. Shrapnels, and Drumboardist losing his orb again. To 203 going into total carnage for Skunky.
Be able to open up that that right side of the starting foot soldiers there. Yeah, trying to get in that center position. Let's see as far as how the shrapnels break. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, has a good angle, is able to keep center there, and spreaders dropping for Skunky, so able to maintain that as well.
Spreaders for both runners now, but yeah, Drumboardist 13 seconds back. Does get an orb on the feet, but now he needs to find a way to maintain that orb. He needs to be a little bit more careful with his movements taps.
Yeah, you know, you got to keep that orb healthy. It's a huge part of your offense going through these stages. It starts to lose its value, I would say, maybe toward the end of Tank Trouble if you get some rockets and, like, yeah, you're just trying to really finish out the room. But yeah, you want to keep this orb healthy as much as possible, and that's not a way to do it. You can't go down yourself if you're Drummy. Oh, but gets rockets as a replacement.
I'll tell you what, a 304 into the bonus room. That's a very nice time there for Skunky. Yep, does get replacement rockets here, but that lead is going to widen for Skunky going into Tank Trouble. We'll see if Drumboardist is able to finish off the room. I mean, he's not going to see the swirl of shame, but he is going to be a good 20 seconds back. As quickly, it's time for Taco Bell. Taco Bell, product placement with Taco Bell.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, Skunky definitely. That's those low threes. That's exactly what you want to see going in this room. Gets rockets immediately, so he's able to take care of those gunners and get that center established. It gets a little bit away though, and unfortunately lose that orb.
Yeah, the purple shirt just got right to it and took away his orb. But with the rockets, with good efficient firing lanes, if you could keep the firing lanes good, it's actually more effective. But then it switches it up to spreader. I'm a little curious by that decision, but maybe more comfortable with the spreader than the rockets in this room.
If they're really getting to like the diagonals, I suppose spreader will get to those weird angles that rockets won't do for you, I suppose. But yeah, you almost always want rockets over the spreads.
I'll tell you what though, Drumboardist getting the works here. Got the orb back plus a razor shield. Doesn't get too much better than that. A 422 into the Mutoid Man fight here for Skunky. Drumboardist is going to ignore that nuke here. Just wants to ride that razor shield as long as he possibly can. Follows that up with a dude. But that lead still, no, actually it hasn't widened too much. Remember, it was 20 seconds. He's only going to lose a little bit of time. It's a 4:44, 22 seconds. So Drumboardist kept up with Skunky there. He's definitely in the running in this match.
Absolutely. Just needs some drops and has that orb. Can we see a ball bust from Drummy's side? That will get him right back in it.
Yeah, it does about 42% of a form damage here, and late swirl, unfortunately, you don't like to see that, but is able to keep the orb intact. Again, gonna use the double weapons. Here's a chance for the ball buster. Let's see if Drumboardist can get it, and no dice, too late.
That right side's always going to be very tough, just based on how the rotation's going to work. But that's where that's where you're positioned, so you got to go for it. Nice attempt there by Drummy. 2 arms popped for Skunky, 1 arm pop for Drummy now.
Yeah, it's about a form and change leading right now for Skunky, but he's not getting good quality weapons. There goes the rib cage for Skunky, as now both of the runners are riding lobbers. Right now, Drumboardist needs to see a spreader to get back into this one, because Skunky has about a 4.5 lead right now. Make that about 2 forms of a lead. There's the spreader, but doesn't really recognize it in time, so he's gonna have to go for manuals. An invulnerability right here would go a long ways, but it's grenades. Good manuals though.
Yeah, good manuals, absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately won't be able to get to that grenade, so I'm gonna have to see something right here Grenades, it will be damage, but final form for Skunky's side does have lobbers too. Probably needs at least one more drop. If it's another lobber, that'll do it. But Spreader's
once again, who knew taps?
Yeah, another spread. Invulnerability too. Wow, right to rub it in. Jeez,
rude
and another.
game, rude. There's a spreader
Empty
for
drops.
Drumboardist. This could be an opportunity because of an empty drop.
Empty drops are happening on Skunky's side. Needs to see a decent weapon here. Does get grenades. It does good damage. It maybe gets there, but the trap.
Oh, he's not going to get to that spreader in time, unfortunately,
Oh,
Taps.
no.
I just don't think it's going to happen. I think this is going to do it for Skunky, and it does.
Oh, that was close. The spread there, but yeah, just not quite the right time. A little, toward the middle of the room, so not.
There's a good spreader, but it is going to be too late. 6:53, your winning time for Skunky. Transfer damage, I don't know how much Drumboardist got, but he's switching up. Well, it's not going to matter because he just got hit by that Mr. Shrapnel. Yeah, he got good transfer damage.
Yeah, it did, and yeah, just a drop or two, a 7. This is going to be like a 720-ish sort of time, a little bit lower than that. When you're talking about having a 638 as your PB, 40 seconds off, yeah, you just kind of need that 1-2 more drops in that room, and you get that PB, honestly.
Yeah, he only lost 5 seconds to Skunky between the end of Total Carnage and the end of the run there. So it was the early part of the run that kind of set Drumboardist back there, because Skunky had a good advantage, and he was able to ride that advantage for the rest of that race. If it's any closer, though, if it was like game number 1, Drumboardist might have won. But yeah, when you're 20-some seconds back, you got to rely on some luck. And Drumboardist didn't quite get enough of that luck. So we could have yet another sweep on our hands. You know what? This would be a good time for a channel point prediction. Will there be another sweep? Somebody get it going.
I can't see it. It's just this had the potential, I think, absolutely to go multiple games. I see it, or more than 3 games, I should say. It's always been multiple games, but I see it going 4 at least. So I'm on the side of this going a non-3-0.
We will indeed see about that. And we do have the channel point prediction underway. So here's your chance opportunity. Our studio audience here at GG Speedruns to gain some channel points if you could successfully predict whether or not this match is going to sweep or if we go to at least 4. But here we go with game number 3, Skunky and Drumboardist. If Skunky wins this, he moves on to the second round. Here we go.
Both able to start out with the Razors, both holding the right side initially. It looks like Skunky, though, is going to take it back to the center a little earlier. Drummy's just going to start running it to the doors where he sees groups of enemies. So, bit of an offensive move. Can work out, can get you some pretty fast times if they really consistently spawn out of one side of the room. But unfortunately, it didn't really happen. He's losing time there.
Yeah, and the last spawn went on the right side. That was good for Skunky, a low 41. And Drumboard is going to be behind the 8 ball, 3.5 seconds back. But it's early. Let's see what happens in terms of the drops. Skunky's gotten some early orbs here in Collect Power-Ups. Will it continue? Not this time with an invulnerability, at least for the first drop. Nuke for Drumboardist. So again, there's some Vitamin R for Skunky. That'll really help him out here in Collect Power-Ups. Drumboardist getting nothing. There's a spreader. That's at least something.
Yeah, you'll take a spreader over just the plain pea shooter right now, but yeah, you really, you gotta start seeing, seeing that early orb for Drummy to be able to get an early advantage. Skunky doing well with the rockets, with the invulnerability, wants to save that little bar of rockets. That'll help early and eat my shrapnel. So nicely done.
And I'll tell you what, Drumboardist didn't lose any time. 120.5 to about a 132. That there is an orb, and losing it immediately is Skunky. But Drumboardist takes a death. And again, this early arena play has kind of been abandoning Drumboardist here in this whole match.
Yeah, it started getting away from you, especially this room right here. Was able to use the invulnerability to do a decent amount, and does get the rockets, does use the Razor to Bust up that one shrapnel, but not really worth it. I don't even think he killed that shrapnel. And then he takes
Oh
a death. He won't be
no,
able
he's
to
not
get
gonna
the
get to
orb.
that orb either.
You gotta be kicking yourself. You will be able to get rid of the shrapnel because of that invulnerability, but yeah, you really want that orb on the drop. That would have been a nice little advantage. Skunky into total carnage has the rockets, gets spreaders as well, so it's gonna be able to hold the center for a little bit.
It's an 11-second lead now for Skunky after those 2 deaths on Drumboardist's side, and neither player has an orb. This won't be an orbless run because both of them have seen an orb. Skunky barely had it, and Drumboardist never picked it up.
Yeah, that's and the longer you go without one right now, it's just like I could have had an orb through this whole thing. Unfortunately,
Oh
gets
my
the Rockets
God.
clubbed. It's not looking great right now. Needs to get this reestablished. Nuke's not going to do it for you.
No, it's not. And Skunky getting the orb, now some swords, and now the Razor Shield as the rich are getting richer. The RNG favoring the favorites here, and Skunky right now looking to close this match here in game number 3.
Absolutely. Finished off the room there, was able to fire down those last lines. Unfortunately, doesn't have the ability to carry over any kind of weapon, but does have the orb going into the secret room with a 3 teens time going into the bonus here.
At 3:15, a solid time there for Skunky. Drumboardist now with some rockets here. Gonna, of course, ignore the key, but there will be no product placement, and there's that swirl of shame that you don't like seeing as a runner.
Yeah, having to just deal with the pea shooter, getting these invulnerabilities too. The drops aren't helping right now. Finally does get it. Takes out those last foot soldiers. Going to be entering in with a 347 into the secret.
He has 32 seconds and an orb back as Skunky not really getting much for drops and loses his orb in the corner there. Finally gets the second gunner down. But this is where Skunky kind of struggled in game number 2.
Yeah, and this could be big and takes the death right there. You know, if it keeps not, he gets a dude right here. These drops keep drying up for him. He's not really able to hold center. Nuke, that'll do a little bit, but if Drummy gets some drops right here, could make up some of this time.
Oh, that'll help, but he needs to not lose it. The Rockets, both gunners are down, then gets a Razor Shield. Here's a replacement orb for Skunky, and he's gonna get it, but can he hold the middle? He's trying. Good dancing. Razor Shield for Drummers, but no weapons to really complement that Razor Shield.
Yeah, the orb is going to help, obviously, Skunky clear the rest of the room, but I feel like some time has to have been made up right there from Drummy, just based on that early tank trouble. Gets the vulnerability, just sticks to the center. Could use this offensively. Rockets, though, he will be able to use this offensively.
Now, 4:43 was the time, and there's an orb replacement for Drummy, and he will be able to pick that up. So but he at the end of the room again. Now, he is going to gain some time back on Skunky. It's down to a 24-second lead, so he still has a chance to make this comeback happen. But man, you can't be doing that.
Yeah, that you're gonna be kicking yourself because that's a handful of seconds you could have had right there. You can make up 20+ seconds easily in this fight, depending on the drops. But it's working out right now for Skunky. Did manual a little bit, but takes the death. Unfortunately, won't be able to get that item. And it's an empty drop, unfortunately, for Skunky.
Here's a shot for Drumboardist to gain another empty drop for Skunky, 2 in a row. But Drumboardist will not get the grenades here. He needs a weapon, and he's going to get lobbers. Very good pickup there, grenades. Yep. So the weapons have really dried up. A spreader on the feet. Drumboardist was not ready.
Oh, but he could get this one.
I don't know. I hope he reacted in time. He'll get it.
And there you go. Can he get in position? He does. He's a little low. He's a little high. There he is. He gets at least another arm. They're tied up in form right now for the spreader on Skunky's side.
For Skunky, and he retakes the lead here. And now grenades, and Skunky gets the grenades just in time here. More grenades. It's been nothing but the green potatoes here as the head pops off. It's a full form lead for Drumboardist if he sees a spreader here, but it's grenades again for Drummy. A death for Skunky as he's looking for some kind of weapon. He gets lobbers. Drumboardist needs another grenade for Drummy. I don't believe this.
And continues going to take a little time there as well. That's really not what you want to see. Lobbers are going to get you there for Skunky. He's probably just going to keep going with these lobbers. Gets the refill right there. It's going to be very close. Isn't land the shots though, so it definitely won't be done with this clip. It's going to need another weapon. Doesn't go for the rockets here. Let's see what happens.
All right, penultimate form for Drumboardist, and once again, I think we've seen it in like every game of the 2 matches we've called, and that's gonna do it. Skunky's gonna sweep this match, so anybody who said it was gonna be another sweep, you're getting paid.
I'm losing a little bit there. That's fine. You know, we gotta hope that we can get one of these more than game 3s here. I think Drummy, yeah, just again, I think in 2 of these races, maybe a drop or 2 away. Skunky doing just enough with it though, is able to take in a 3-0 and very nicely done. A couple low 7s there. That'll be enough to move on to the second round of the upper side. Drummy will be getting knocked down to the lower bracket, but some good matches coming up for both sides of the bracket there. So looking forward to seeing both these runners in future matches.
No question about it here. I mean, we'll definitely see Drumboardist back in the second chance bracket, but Skunky winning relatively easily in this match to move on to the second round of the tournament. Let me take a look here quick at something.